Let's open this up for the big debate. Joining us on the broadcast are noted activist Sridhar and Professor Rekha Rao from Hyderabad. With me on the broadcast is Ketan Paul, advocate for his point of view. And with me are three members of the Robin Hood Army, an organization which has taken their mission to ensure that food reaches to people who deserve it so that no one stays hungry in the country and maybe across the world. That is the mission which is guiding them. From the Robin Hood Army, I'm joined by Rishabh Jain, Srishti Purohit and Chetan Gupta, who are all with me in green on the broadcast. Let me get started with you, Professor Rao. When you hear of a move like this, where the where the Supreme Court tells the Delhi government and the Lieutenant Governor to sit down together and formulate a policy to look into these specific issues, which include traffic congestion, water wastage and food wastage, which is the most important part of this. How do you view this when it comes to A, the policy framing per se, and B, the implementation?
Well, it is a wonderful move. Firstly, because there are many families, like when we take middle class families or lower middle class, even if they are not able to afford it, they have to go, they are going because of compulsion. So once we have the limitation over the guests, and again I want, if it is better if they have a limitation over the menu also. In each and every wedding, 30 to 40 eatables are there, and it leads to wastage. So that is also one thing we need to control. And again, one thing I disagree, starvation due to these fat wedding, it is because of inadequate distribution of food. That is the reason for starvation. And again, whatever we are having, the menu or the amount of food which is cooked, it does not lead to starvation. It is basically because the people, they don't have the purchasing power, the poor people, that is the reason for starvation. And yes, to curtail or to curb the starvation, the number of guests, the menu list.
So you're saying that the other angle. Okay, and it's a valid point, Professor Rekha Rao. You're saying that it ultimately boils down to the purchasing power of an individual
and distribution.
But then, does that in a way, can it in any way justify this criminal waste of food which could have fed hungry mouths? We are putting up those graphics on our screen. Let me bring in Srishti Purohit on the broadcast now. Srishti, now your take. You are working essentially with Robin Hood Army. Just tell us a bit about your work. And we are told that you source excess food that is left over essentially from weddings and you channelize it to the last mile. Srishti.
Yes, Robin Hood Army serve the hungry citizen, which we always say. What we do actually, we just go to the weddings, we just request the people, if there is any food, any amount of surplus food which is wastage, which is no of use of yourself, you just give us to us. What we do, we come at any time. We work 24/7. We come at any time, pick that food and provide it to those people who actually require that food. So in that case, the food is not at all waste. It will be consumed on the same day itself. Because we know weddings, there will be approximately around surplus amount of food is being cooked on that day.
Right.
But we don't know that whether that food is to be consumed or not. Because we have a choices in our hand that we can take anything. But sometimes there are so many people who don't have choices. They don't even have one chapati to have.
Absolutely. And which is why the court has also taken note of starvation deaths. Remember that the three siblings who allegedly died in the National Capital Region. That is something that the court has also taken cognizance of. Mr. Sridhar, if I could bring you in. Mr. Sridhar, when you look at all the aspects that the court has touched upon, and you being a lawyer yourself, when you look at all the aspects that the court has touched upon, Mr. Sridhar, while it sounds very good on paper and prim and proper on paper, somewhere down the line, going by the paucity of people who are to execute it on the ground, a question mark still hovers.
The question of spending the amount. The rich can go for caterers and very big halls for function, and it is a display of their wealth. That is one part, and the other part is the starvation of the millions of people. So now the question remains, the Apex Court has been, probably it has given a direction that to frame a policy. So as of now, it still remains a obiter dicta of the Apex Court. So if the policy is framed, can the court or any person or the government can restrain the overall activity of a function like marriage? That has to be seen because it has got a social dimensions which may be involved. Suppose somebody invites us for a function. Next time when he has to be taken away from the list that he is not invited, it will have an impact. See, looking from that angle and wastage of food. The persons coming to the function and traffic jams is one thing and wastage of food. Now Robin Hood Army has come with a very good solution. What can be done is they should link themselves with the caterers and other function halls, and also before entering into the wedding there should be some agreement like thing with the host of the function, because ultimately they are spending money, so the caterers and others will be having their own worry. They cannot just take a decision and give the food to these organizations like people. So there should be
in fact the court, Mr. Sridhar, the court has also, yes, I get your point, the court, that's a very valid suggestion, the court has also said that there should be a cap on the number of invitees. So the invitee list also will be very closely monitored. Rishabh, you know, this suggestion that is coming in from Mr. Sridhar at this point in time, that why not tie up with the caterers? Because then you know that exactly, you know, how much food has been ordered and what is it that you can carry back. Is that a viable proposition?
I think Sridhar is quite right. This is what we are doing in Robin Hood Army. We have tie-ups with caterers, banquet halls, hotels, party halls. What we do is we go to them after a party, pick food. We know certain places where.
But how do you map the parties? Like, how do you know that, you know, which are these big fat weddings that we are talking about?
We already have tie-ups with them, so we get the call from them.
Okay.
That today we have a party. If you want to come, you can come after 11 or 11:30. So this way we go there, pick food. We have certain places which are identified, and we go and serve those people.
Right. So your objective is very clear, to ensure that the food reaches to the last mile at the grassroots level. Let me bring in Mr. Ketan Paul on this. Mr. Paul, now that the Delhi government has been tasked to submit this policy document, which is expected to be done over the next 1 month, you know, questions are being asked over its execution on the ground, over its implementation on the ground. Who's going to ensure that what is specified in that policy document, that every word is being followed and that is being adhered to? Otherwise, penal provisions can be, you know, invoked.
Yes, so that is exactly what the policy needs to have. Very strict enforcement mechanism and penal mechanisms for non-compliance.
Mr. Paul, if my voice is going through?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, please carry on.